You've got stories that are almost 3,000 years old, and we're still making movies, games, and books that basically remix them. That all traces back to one name, Homer. Now here's the funny part. We talk about Homer like he's a historical celebrity, but we know about him the way we know who made a viral meme. Famous? Absolutely. Clear life story? Not even a little. Tradition says he lived around the 8th century BC, may have been a blind, traveling poet, and wandered around performing epic poems from memory. Solid proof? Nope. Legends? Tons. Scholars even argue about whether Homer was one guy, several poets, or basically an ancient Greek writer's room. That debate is literally called the Homeric question, which is academic language for we're not sure who this dude actually was. But whoever Homer was, two absolute heavyweights of literature are tied to his name, the Iliad and the Odyssey. And these are not just old poems people pretend to like. These stories basically built the blueprint for Western epic storytelling. Without Homer, a huge chunk of modern plots just wouldn't exist.
The Iliad, one man's anger, 10 years of consequences. So what's the Iliad about? The Trojan War, but not the whole war, just a short, super intense stretch near the end where everything goes emotionally off the rails. The drama starts when the Greek hero Achilles gets seriously offended by the Greek commander Agamemnon. The reason? Agamemnon takes Achilles' captive woman as a prize. Achilles' reaction is basically, cool, then I'm not fighting. Which is a problem, because Achilles is their best warrior. So while Achilles is in his tent being furious and dramatic, the Trojans start winning. Things spiral. Then Achilles' best friend Patroclus gets killed, and that's it. Achilles comes back to battle in full rage mode and basically turns into a one-man disaster movie. He slaughters his way through the Trojan army and kills their greatest hero, Hector. But the poem doesn't end with cheering and victory music. It ends with a quiet, heartbreaking scene where King Priam, Hector's father, sneaks into Achilles' camp and begs for his son's body. And Achilles, the angriest man alive, actually listens. That's what makes the Iliad powerful. It's not just about fighting. It's about rage, pride, honor, and the brutal cost of war. And somehow, even after 3,000 years, these characters feel like real people, having very real emotional breakdowns, just with more spears. The Odyssey, the worst trip home in human history. Now, if the Iliad is war drama, the Odyssey is the ultimate I just want to go home story. The hero, Odysseus, king of Ithaca, survives the Trojan War and thinks, great, time to head back. That trip takes 10 years because everything that can go wrong absolutely does. Along the way, he blinds a giant cyclops, gets stuck with a powerful sorceress, visits the underworld, sails past the sirens, whose singing is so beautiful it literally kills people, and loses his entire crew, every single one. Meanwhile, back home, his wife Penelope has been dealing with a house full of arrogant guys who assume Odysseus is dead and are trying to marry her and take his kingdom. When Odysseus finally makes it back, he shows up disguised as a beggar, checks out the situation, and then suddenly reveals who he is and wipes out all the suitors. So yeah, the homecoming is intense. But the Odyssey isn't just monsters and magic. At its core, it's about home, loyalty, and using your brain instead of brute strength. Odysseus isn't the strongest guy in the room. He's the clever one, the ancient Greek icon of that was a terrible plan, but it worked.
And then there are the gods. The gods in Homer's stories act like immortal viewers watching a very violent reality show. They jump into battles, save their favorite humans, start petty drama with each other, and get personally offended if people forget to worship them properly. The Trojan War isn't just humans fighting, it's also gods arguing, with mortals caught in the middle like very fragile game pieces. It's dark, but also weirdly relatable. So why does Homer still matter? Because this is where so many storytelling traditions begin. Achilles becomes the template for the powerful but self-destructive hero driven by rage. Odysseus becomes the model for the clever survivor who wins with brains. The emotions feel real, the themes are still relevant, and the influence is everywhere, from ancient theater to modern Hollywood and video games. The bottom line: Homer isn't just a dusty name from a textbook. He's the storyteller or group of storytellers who help define how we tell stories about war, adventure, heroism, and stubbornness pushed to the limit. Put simply, the Iliad is about how rage can break the world. The Odyssey is about how sheer determination and cleverness can get you back through it. And the fact that we're still telling these stories 3,000 years later, that's a pretty solid legacy for a blind poet with no printing press, no streaming platform, and definitely no ad revenue.